Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Unbettable. I'm Mondo here today with Holmes and I guess Gary. On today's episode, we got college football talk, FSU, Georgia Tech in Dublin, Ireland. We're going to give some picks on that. And then we have obviously our weekend plays, and we have a special sleeper do not draft segment for today. And then finally, we wrap it up with the top 10 rankings of best sports movies. Holmes, how was your last 48 hours?
Fantastic, bro. Fantastic. Just doing a ton of research on all this different stuff. I am so hyped just for college football to be back. FSU, Georgia Tech. I think it's going to be a lot better game than people expect. We'll get into it real shortly, but thank God week 0 is here. College football has returned.
Yep.
Dude,
Douchebag, how's yours?
oh my God, dude. So this guy is so mad about some fantasy football beef. But I'm not gonna bring it up again because I'm kind of sick of it. But to put it plainly, I made a trade with Mondo last year. And they were for some good players that have historically done pretty good. And when I got them, that's when I first took my first L, and then my second L, and then my third L, and then my fourth L. And then finally I won again. But that was not through using the players that I received from Mondo. So Mondo offered me another trade today, and I declined it. And I just hope that I don't get another trade from him because I'm gonna file a restraining order, because I'm tired of it.
Before we move
Yeah.
on from this, let's set one thing straight. One team finished in second place last year, the other finished in ninth place after the trade. Based on Gary's story, you would have thought he finished in ninth. No, that was me after making the trade, where I proceeded to lose out the rest of the season. I sent an offer to Gary where I'm getting hosed. Hart agrees I'm getting hosed, and Gary is a too big of a pussy to submit the trade. So that's
Because
neither here nor
we
there.
never
FSU, Georgia Tech. We got a big matchup across the seas. Holmes, give me a quick breakdown of this game. What are you looking at? What are your plays?
Well, obviously, with college football being back, we're just excited to finally see one of the greatest sports on earth being played again. I am so interested in this game, in the battle of the quarterbacks. Haynes King, a guy for Georgia Tech that's been there for a couple years and has steadily improved under that offense. He actually had a really nice year last year, 62% completion percentage, uh, 2755 passing yards, 648 rushing yards, through 26 TDs, also 15 picks. So got to clean that up a little bit this year, but him going against DJ Uyunglele, like I don't know what to make of this. I don't know if this guy is going to thrive in this FSU offense. Transferred out of Clemson, he transferred out of Oregon State. Last year, Oregon State really not that great. I have his stats here too: 57 percentage completion rate, 2638 passing. He only had 219 rushing yards, so definitely not as much of a threat as Haynes King. And only 21 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. So one pick for every 3 TDs he threw. I mean, it's interesting here just to see what both of these guys are going to provide for these teams this year. I think DJ is going to have a little bit bigger of a spotlight under him because he is more high profile quarterback, has made more moves recently, and with the success that FSU had last year, I'm sure there are very high expectations on that man's shoulder to perform.
Gary?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see a game get played in Ireland. Like I'm excited to see what the fans bring, when the NFL goes to England, it's usually pretty rowdy. And I think the FSU fans travel pretty well. So I think that, that'll kind of be an interesting game. The first time the sport's been played in Ireland on like an international stage. But regarding my picks for the game, I feel like this game is gonna be kind of like those preseason jitters where everybody's kind of shitting their pants all at the same time. So I feel like by saying that, I mean, it could really go one of two ways. And, that's a super high scoring game from both teams, or, both teams kind of don't put up any numbers. So for that reason, FSU's total points is currently at over under 34 and a half. I'm going to take the under on that. And then Georgia Tech total points is at 21 and a half. And I'm gonna lean towards the under on that one as well. So I'm gonna take the under on both points for both teams. Then probably just the under on the overall game. I don't really think it's gonna be a crazy shootout like some people are thinking it is.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Garrett. I am definitely hammering under 55.5. I think it's a no-brainer. Everyone's going to start slow. You're going overseas to play. It's just not a recipe for like a really good game. I mean, we see that across both levels, college and NFL. So nothing surprising there, but I will be taking FSU minus 10.5. Feels a little weird to cheer them on, but I can't help but take that spread. It feels too right to me. Um, so yeah, we aside from that, man, football is here. We're back. We're ready to go. It's exciting. So we figured, why not, you know, wrap it all up with a nice little bow. The sleepers, the do not drafts. We we covered pretty much every positional ranking that we really care about. But Holmes, let's start with you. Give me your sleeper.
All right, so this is for fantasy football purposes. Like you just said, we did all of those lists and rankings for the major positional groups around the NFL. For my sleeper, I'm gonna go with Jackson Smith and Jigba from the Seattle Seahawks. Now, he's currently technically the number 3 wide receiver behind DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but this guy could easily be the number 2 in this offense. They have a new offensive coordinator in Ryan Grubb, and he's said in multiple interviews like this guy can be used in so many more ways than he was last year. He was a very big short pass screen guy last year, wasn't really being utilized downfield, and I think this is going to be the year where Ryan Grubb the new offense is going to be able to unlock that from JSN, and this dude could have a monster year. I think DK is going to get obviously a ton of attention from the defense, probably a lot of double coverage just because of how much of a monster he is. I think that's going to leave JSN open quite a bit, especially if Tyler Lockett is getting some attention on the other side. I love this dude to have a much better year than he did last year. 628 with 4 TDs last year. I can see him going for 900 and maybe even getting close to cracking double digit TDs.
Gare, who's your sleeper?
Yeah, so I don't know necessarily if people are going to consider this a sleeper, but AR, Anthony Richardson, I feel like last season he went out really early with injury, but the games that he did play, he was moving his feet and getting a lot of yards, which was really beneficial if you had him on the fantasy side of your team. Now performance-wise for the Colts, I don't really know what's going to happen. But as far as AR is concerned, I think he's going to put up good numbers. He has a lot of heart, and he really showed it those 2 weeks that he did get to play last year. But unfortunately, with the concussion, I could maybe see him airing out the ball a lot more, and kind of staying away from the scramble because you scramble and you're going to scramble your brain eventually. And, he's already done it once, so I'm sure that's not something he wants to do again. So I think AR is a sleeper pick.
Love it. My sleeper, it's none other than Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker. I think this dude is poised for a massive year. Mike McDonald's been saying all training camp that he's looked incredible. He's rebuilt his body, and we've seen Zach Charbonnet get less and less carries over the course of towards the end of last season, as well as into training camp so far this year. I am big, big, big on Kenneth Walker. I mean, he's going to be a great running back for years to come, and I'm definitely taking him to hammer that RB2 spot in my lineup. As far as do not drafts, we'll start with me. One guy that I am definitely starting to stay away from is David Montgomery. As Jahmyr Gibbs becomes a veteran, we know he's going to start dominating the lion's share of the carries. They had a great system last year, but it's not going to stay like that this year. I'm fading the hell out of David Montgomery. Gary, who's your do not draft?
I mean, I feel like this one is a no-brainer. But I'm gonna go Daniel Jones. I feel like a lot of these Giants dick riders love to take their quarterbacks and their fantasy teams because Giants fans are very passionate. So that's one good thing I'll give them, but they're passionate about dog shit. And Daniel Jones is the leader of that dog shit, and it was pretty evident in the preseason that he has not changed his ways in the offseason, that he is still the idiot that has no field vision at all. So yeah, I'm gonna stay away from that.
Holmes.
Brothers, I'm going to go with another wide receiver here. I'm going to go with Chris Olave. I do not want to draft Chris Olave in any leagues this year. He's technically the number one receiver down there in New Orleans, but with just so much uncertainty with Derek Carr, I know you've heard that there's been rumors out there that Derek Carr could be traded. They like a little bit of what Spencer Rattler has done in camp and practice, maybe impressed him a little bit, like surprised me. But Derek Carr, like, I don't really see him as being this guy that is just going to be able to feed Olave consistently. Olave to me as well, the past couple years hasn't he's been on the field, but there have been injuries that have hampered him on the field that really have not allowed him to go 100%. He's only missed 3 games total in the past 2 years, but it feels like he is not 100% healthy for a lot of these games. I mean, with the other receivers, like what do they have? Raheed Shaheed, Equinemius St. Brown, Samson Nakua, Puka Nakua's little brother. I mean, who else is going to get the ball on this team? Chris Olave is going to be double covered all the time. He's the only real receiving threat that I see right now. Um, I mean, this is just a guy that I would not really trust right now for a team that I don't think is going to be very good.
All right. Moving on, we have our weekend plays. Gary, let's start with you. What are you looking at across the board this weekend?
Yeah, so this weekend, I know this is gonna sound very vague, but I'm gonna make a run for my money, and book this MLB no run first inning parlay that I've been trying to hit for the past few weeks. And I know it is vague, but I will explain it more in detail. So essentially what I've been doing is I look at not just the Nerfy line, but the actual run line for the first inning. And you know, it's usually 1.5 or 2.5. Any spread that I see that's at 2.5, I hammer the shit out of it. And now I look at the other teams as well. The only teams that I take when it comes to the 1.5 spreads, because typically there is one trap game where there's some crazy ass first inning. I mean, it's usually with your shitty teams. It's not with your big hitters, which is kind of weird, but it also makes sense in the grand scheme of things. So that's what I'm going to be riding with this week. I know I didn't really give any specific teams. I just haven't had the time to look at it. But when I do, I'm gonna throw it up on Twitter. But you know, those can pay out big money because they are so fat. But we'll see what happens.
All right, Holmes, what you got this weekend?
A good explanation there, Gary. I love that. All right. So for the FSU Georgia Tech game, obviously we had to have a play in this. I got this number like 3 weeks ago. I am gonna fade you, Mondo. I'm going with Georgia Tech on the spread plus 12.5 at minus 105. I honestly think that they are going to keep this game close. I don't think that they're going to win. I don't see the upset happening. I'm not taking the money line on them in this game, but I do think Haynes King, if he keeps it concise, if the defense forces turnovers, Haynes King is able to move out of the pocket, make plays. I think he's gonna be able to have his way a little bit with the FSU defense. I know they're gonna be probably just as good as they were last year. They have a lot of big names on that defense this year. But I like what Haynes King has been able to do for Georgia Tech the past couple years. I think he's only getting better. I'm gonna hope that he keeps it close in this one. If you want any extra action on a college football game this weekend, SMU is playing Nevada. Nevada is absolutely dog shit. Uh, Try to look for the first half spread SMU minus 13.5. It's minus 14.5 right now. I don't love that number because of the hook right after the 2 touchdowns. But if they drop 13.5 at any time for the first half, take that. And then, I mean, I'll let you get into your plays. I will round it out with 5 new futures that I have after you
All
go.
right. I got FSU minus 10.5. I got the spread a little bit lower, which is why I was sticking with it. And then I got the game under 55.5. Like we were saying earlier, I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game just because of the travel, just because it's the first game. Everyone's going to be out of sync, and that's expected. And then I don't have an official play for baseball, but I'm going to call it the Thurfy. Any pitching matchup where both pitchers have under a 3.5 ERA, I am hammering a Nerfy, and that will be all weekend. So if there are no matchups, then so be it. But at the time we're recording this, none of the matchups are out. So the Thurfy is in place.
You said
Um,
under 3.5?
yeah, under 3.5.
Might tail that.
So that's where I'm sitting this weekend. And then Holmes, take it away. What are your futures?
All right, boys, I'm going to give you 4 NFL props that I've been looking into, and then one college win total. Start out with the four NFL props. We'll run through these pretty quickly. I'm going to take Jaden Daniels over 550 and a half rushing yards for -110. I mean, all three, his three most recent years in college, 2021, he had 710, 2022, he had 885, and then in 2023, when he had his Heisman campaign, 1134. I mean, this guy has just gotten better and better in the rushing game. I understand it's only college, but I think the Commanders are absolutely going to know how to utilize this guy's legs and get him some extra yards. We're going to go with Derek Carr. Over 11 and a half interceptions on the season. We were just talking about it. I do not have any faith in Derek Carr, dude. And I think there's going to be a lot of instances where he's going to try and force it to Olave in coverage that he shouldn't be forcing it into. I'm going to take this over 11 and a half. It's +100. It's a 50% hit rate in his career, whether he goes over this number or not, I've seen. But he had 14 interceptions in 2021 and in 2022, only 8 last year. So I expect him to go over the number this year. I'm also go Bryce Young under 3,200 and a half pass yards. This is at -110. I just don't think that this guy is going to get that much better than he was last year in the passing game. I know Dave Canales, the old Bucks offensive coordinator, is now the head coach for that team. I just don't think in year one under his tenure, he is going to get over that 3,200 mark. I think that's a little high for him. He had 2877 in 2023. The receiving core got a little bit better. The offensive line still stinks. So, I mean, I don't really see him really getting over that number and improving much on his number from last year. And the last one we're going to go with Brees Hall over 1050 and a half rushing yards. That's 1,050 and a half rushing yards at -110. He had 994 in 2023 coming off of an ACL tear. Guys should not be able to do that coming off of an ACL tear. You can tell that this guy has the juice. The offensive line has gotten a little bit better over the offseason for the Jets. I think he is going to look like an absolute all-star this year. I think he's going to crush the 1,000-yard mark. We're going to go with those four player props, boys. And now to the college win total, Wisconsin. We are taking under 6.5. +120. +120. I love the value on this play because I was going through Wisconsin's schedule, and I do not think there are more than 6 wins baked into this schedule right now. They play Western Michigan, South Dakota to start off the season. That's all right. 2-0 right there. Then they got to play Alabama. Alabama's got to come to Wisconsin, but I don't think they're beating Alabama. Next week, they got to go to USC. I don't think they're winning that game either. Oh, Joey Votto, retirement. No way, dude. Pour one out for that, man.
What a
That's
career.
crazy.
6-time
What a career.
All-Star, Cincinnati Red legend. Calling it a career, Joey Votto. Congratulations, man. You were a superstar, both on and off the field. Continue, Holmes.
Dude, Nick Saban and now this, dude. That's a double whammy, bro. We're pretty good at timing these out.
Yeah, way to break that news, Gary. Good stuff right there.
I was
All
more or
right.
less in the trade proposal, but yeah.
All right, whatever. As we were saying, with the Wisconsin team total, we have them 2-2 right now through the first 4 games of the season. They have a stretch of Purdue, Rutgers, and Northwestern in the middle of the season that I think they can honestly go 3-0. Who knows? Maybe they trip up and lose one of those games. Let's say they win all of them. They have 5 wins right now. They got to play Penn State at home. They got to go to Iowa and then come home and play Oregon. Just shitty 3-game stretch right there. I don't think they're winning any of those games. That could look 0-3 right there. Then you got to go to Nebraska after the Oregon game. It's a really tough one because a lot of people really like Nebraska this year. I don't really have a lot of thoughts on that, but they could be a lot better. And Wisconsin could be in for a tough game. They round out the season playing Minnesota. I think they can win that game. That's looking like 6 wins to me right there. And maybe they can get lucky and beat one of these ranked teams that they're playing, but I really don't see it. I think the value is pretty nice to take this under team total. I don't think Tyler Van Dyke is going to be that guy for Wisconsin this year. So I put my confidence in the Badgers to not be good this year, fellas.
Damn.
I thought of one when you were talking about Derek Carr. Josh Allen picks. That was something that was pretty consistent last year.
I
Like
heavily considered that.
every single game, he was basically throwing at least one. That was like a meme amongst our pod was like Josh Allen pick hammer. If you've been watching that long and you watched us last NFL season, you know we said it every single game, Josh Allen pick, and it probably hit 80% of the time. So next pod, I wrote it down here. We're gonna see what that over under number is at. And then that might decide my next future. So we'll see what happens.
The Allen pick McCaffrey touchdown parlay that we would run. I mean, that was legendary.
That was, yeah, dude, every game. That was bona fide.
Tyreek Tutty was also pretty
Yeah.
consistent.
I can't
And
wait to bring back those.
was it not Puka Nakua too in the beginning of the season? It was like, oh yeah, this guy's just like every game's automatic.
Yeah, every single
I feel like
game.
I remember that.
One. Yeah.
It was crazy.
All right, boys. It's top 10 ranking time. Let's get right into it. We have the top 10 best sports movies of all time. Gary Gowdy, give me your 10.
That's crazy that I just knew that was coming. So this is gonna be fun. Number one, I'm gonna go with Moneyball. I just watched Moneyball for the first time last year, and this is not in any particular order. I'll send it in the actual sequential order that I want it in later, but I'm just gonna name the 10. First one, Moneyball. Thought it was a super inspiring story. And it kind of goes to show that, sometimes the smart guy wins, you just gotta outplay your opponent. And that's what that whole movie is about. Number two, we're gonna go with The Blind Side. If you haven't seen The Blind Side, and you want to cry, I recommend you watch that movie. Also, what's the name is the baddest MILF on the planet. And I
Sandra
will stand,
Bullock, bro.
yeah, I will stand by that until the end of time.
That's crazy.
Number three, I'm gonna go with The Boys in the Boat. This movie was about when the rowing teams from the Ivy League schools were battling it out. It was like the first big race they had against one another. And in that movie, the underdogs, meaning like the kids that were meant to be on the secondary team, come out and win it all. So that was pretty electric. And they also race in front of Hitler at the Olympics, which is a true story. So that was also pretty insane. Number four, we are gonna go with Cars. Cars is it's not necessarily a sport unless you consider racing a sport.
Crazy.
Cars is an absolute electric movie, and this is where you're gonna start to tell that I can't think of any sport movies. So the next movie that I'm gonna go with is fuck me, man. I knew
Yeah,
this was
blowing
gonna
it
happen.
again.
I was doing so good. Um, what's the name of the movie with Sunshine, the football movie? You know what I'm talking about, where
Bro,
Denzel
yeah. Remember the Titans. That's goaded.
Remember the Titans. There we go. That's a great movie. And I'm not just bullshitting that I do enjoy that movie. I think that, that was a good little lesson about, respecting your neighbor and treating everybody equally. So, that was pretty badass. Um, the next movie that I'm gonna go with is 80 for Brady, or whatever the fuck that movie was called with all the old ladies and Tom Brady. That movie is just funny as fuck. And it's also pretty badass because, it seems like a corny ass movie, like seeing the previews. But like that's how I want to be with my boys one day when I get older, just old as fuck and just having a great time and enjoying what we've enjoyed ever since we were like young, you know what I'm saying? So type shit. And then I'm gonna go with Chicken Little. Chicken Little, he actually wanted to be a baseball player. And there's a pretty iconic scene in that movie when he thinks the sky is falling because he's trying to track a fly ball and bang, the sky was legit falling. So Chicken Little. My next one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm gonna go with The Sandlot. That's a complete 180 from what I just said. But absolute electric movie. I watched it when I was a little kid. I haven't watched it in a long time actually. Um, Yeah, cool movie. Damn. What's another funny one I can make up real quick?
Seriously?
Uh,
You're insane.
dude, I mean, I don't really watch movies like that, man.
Then I'm gonna like blow you away with my 10.
I feel like some of you are gonna say some that I'm just like not thinking of.
Totally. 100%.
All right. Holmes, we'll send it to you.
All right, man. I'll start from the top. I'll go number one, dude. My favorite movie of all time, Major League. I love Major League. That movie is absolutely hilarious. Charlie Sheen just goes so ham in that movie. It's crazy. Remember the Titans, number two, Gare. Classic, bro. Classic movie. Like he had to put that on the list. With Sunshine, of course, bro. You got to put that on.
I just thought of one. Okay.
Did you? What is it? What is it? Say it.
The motherfucking water boy.
There you go. All right, there you go. You got one.
I got one more to think of.
There you go.
Keep
All
going.
right. I got Major League. We got to remember the Titans. I'm gonna go Moneyball 3, another great baseball movie. Brad Pitt in that movie with the Athletics, Jonah Hill, all of it fantastic. League of Their Own, number 4. I absolutely love this movie with Tom Hanks. I mean, with all the women playing baseball, like I think it's awesome. It's such a great movie. The Sandlot, number 5. Gare, like you said, classic. Used to watch it all the time as a kid. Killing Me Smalls, one of the most iconic lines of all time. Talladega Nights. I'm gonna go with number 6, dude. Of
Oh,
course, Gare. Like, how could you leave this off?
I didn't know
Iconic.
if that was a sport movie or not. I literally
Yes, yeah, dude. Of course, NASCAR, like iconic racing movie. Will Ferrell. I mean, doesn't get much better than that. Uh, I am going to go with Blindside, number 7. Have to, Gare. Put it on there. Great movie. Yeah, I mean Sandra Bullock. She's good looking. What are you gonna say about it? Benchwarmers, number 8. Benchwarmers. I mean, great baseball movie. I got my nickname, from my fraternity after that movie. Like, just a classic. I love that movie. Happy Gilmore, number 9. Like,
Oh my
great
God,
golf
bro.
movie. Adam Sandler classic. I mean, no, Adam Sandler makes a lot of cheesy ass sports movies, but like Happy Gilmore, I feel like never gets old. And then number 10, going to the ice, Mighty Ducks. Dude, I used to watch the Mighty Ducks all the time. I absolutely loved that movie. Probably like my favorite hockey movie, if I were to say. So I know I left a lot off the list there. Like Dodgeball is a good one.
Fuck, dude. I
Rudy.
was literally about to say that for my number 10. I literally.
Yeah,
Okay, well, that's my number
Dodgeball,
10.
Bull
There it is.
Durham. There's a lot of good ones I left off there, but those are my favorite. Mondo, how about you, brother?
And number 10, Major League.
Major
And
League.
number 9, Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will
Great,
come into your top 10. Number 8,
great movie.
Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. And number 7, Moneyball. No Moneyball, actually. Number 6, The Miracle.
Great movie. I
10 out
debated
of
putting
10
that on
movie.
this.
10 out of
Yeah,
10.
yeah.
I've never
Kurt
seen that. What
Russell's
is
great.
that?
It's the hockey movie about the USA team of scrubs that
Oh,
smoked Russia.
Beat the Soviet Union. Yeah,
And number 5, The Sandlot.
of course.
You're killing me, Smalls. And number 4, The Blind Side. You cannot see that side. At number 3, The Happy Gilmore golf movie. And number 2, Coach Carter. Samuel L. Jackson coaches basketball. Banger. And at
Not
number
bad, man.
1, the Disney classic. Remember the Titans. Top
Goated.
10.
Goated.
Ladies and gentlemen,
There
if
you
you
go,
enjoyed
Garrett.
this episode, please make sure to like, subscribe, share with everyone you know. We will see you on the next episode. Peace.